Just two teenage girls, excited, dressed neatly, tickets in hand, ready to board their flight home. But as the line moved forward, the smiles faded. The gate agent's tone shifted, the glances grew colder, and suddenly their names were missing from the list. Confusion turned to humiliation as passengers watched in silence. What began as a routine boarding quickly spiraled into something darker, a quiet act of discrimination that would soon bring an entire airline to its knees. How did two young girls manage to expose the truth that millions had ignored for years? Zara and Nia Jackson had grown up around airplanes. Their father, Marcus Jackson, was a respected executive in the aviation industry, though few outside the corporate world knew his name. To the world, they were just two bright, ambitious teenage girls, traveling alone for the first time, excited to visit their mother in Boston after a summer program in Denver. They arrived early, neatly dressed, polite, carrying the quiet confidence of kids raised to believe that hard work and kindness could open any door. But beneath that confidence lingered the unspoken awareness every black traveler knows, the need to stay composed, to smile, to never give anyone a reason to see you as a threat. Everything seemed ordinary at first. They checked in smoothly, grabbed coffee near the gate, and laughed about how grown up they felt navigating the airport on their own. Then, a small detail changed everything. Their boarding passes wouldn't scan. The gate agent's friendly tone turned cold. Other passengers filed past as the twins stood awkwardly to the side, confused, embarrassed, and increasingly aware that something wasn't right. They had done everything right. Yet somehow, they were being treated as if they didn't belong. What Zara and Nia didn't know was that this quiet moment of humiliation would ignite a chain of events powerful enough to shake an entire airline and expose a system built to protect itself, not the truth. The moment the scanner beeped red, the energy around the twins shifted. The gate agent, a tall man with an expressionless face, asked them to step aside. His tone wasn't rude, just clipped, dismissive, the kind of tone that quietly tells you you're a problem. Passengers stared as they passed, some with pity, others with irritation. The twins stood frozen, clutching their passports, unsure what they'd done wrong. When they asked what was happening, the agent barely looked up. "Your tickets have been flagged," he said. No explanation, no apology. Within minutes, uniformed, security officers arrived, as if two teenage girls posed a threat. The crowd's whispers grew louder. Phones came out. One officer demanded their IDs again, even though the twins had already presented them twice. Their luggage was pulled aside, bags unzipped. Every item examined as if searching for proof they didn't belong there. Zara tried to stay calm. She'd been taught how to keep your voice even, your hands visible, your face polite. But Nia's eyes welled with tears. "We didn't do anything," she whispered, her voice cracking. The situation escalated fast. The gate agent made a call, murmuring about a security concern, and moments later, a loudspeaker announcement echoed across the terminal. "Attention passengers, Flight 227 to Boston will be delayed due to a boarding issue." A boarding issue. That issue was two black girls who had paid for first-class tickets. A supervisor arrived, a woman with a clipped tone and cold smile. "Ladies, you'll need to come with us," she said. No explanation, no empathy, just control. The girls followed, trembling, into a side corridor away from witnesses. There, the truth became impossible to ignore. Their seats had been reassigned, their boarding passes invalidated, and when Zara asked why, the supervisor's words cut deep. "Perhaps there was a system error. You don't look like typical first-class travelers." That single line shattered any illusion of misunderstanding. This wasn't about protocol. It was about perception. By now, other passengers had noticed the tension. One woman began recording. Another approached the desk, asking why two minors were being detained. The supervisor ordered them to step back. Minutes felt like hours. And then, Zara remembered something. Her phone. her father. Marcus Jackson wasn't just their dad. He was the newly appointed CEO of the very airline that now humiliated his daughters. Hands trembling, she sent a text. A short, simple message that would change everything. "Dad, they won't let us on the plane." What happened next would bring an entire airline to a standstill. When Marcus Jackson's phone buzzed in his office, he almost ignored it, until he saw the sender, Zara. The message was short. "Dad, they won't let us on the plane." At first, disbelief. Then, a sinking realization that this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the very culture he'd sworn to change. Within seconds, he was on the phone with operations control. His voice calm, but cold with authority. "Ground Flight 227 immediately." In Denver, the announcement rippled through the terminal. All mid-Atlantic flights are temporarily suspended due to operational review. Confusion erupted. The gate staff froze. The supervisor's confident smirk vanished. Minutes later, her radio crackled. "Corporate directive, all ground staff to halt processing. CEO intervention in progress." Security backed away. The crowd, once skeptical, now watched in stunned silence as the truth began to surface. The girls weren't anonymous passengers. They were the CEO's daughters, and the company's deepest hypocrisy had just been exposed, live and undeniable. But Marcus didn't stop at saving his daughters. He went further. Within an hour, he convened an emergency meeting with the airline's top brass. On screens across the country, executives appeared pale and uneasy. Marcus played back the security footage, the gate agent's sneer, the supervisor's dismissive tone, the girl's humiliation captured frame by frame. "This," he said, "isn't just about my daughters. This is who we've become." The silence that followed was heavier than any reprimand. At that moment, Marcus made the call that would make history. Ground every aircraft. Until this company confronts its discrimination problem, no one flies. Across the nation, planes halted mid-preparation. Passengers stranded. News alerts exploded. CEO grounds entire airline after daughters face racial discrimination. The world was watching, and Mid-Atlantic Airlines was about to face its reckoning. When the flights resumed 48 hours later, the world wasn't the same, and neither was Mid-Atlantic Airlines. The CEO, Marcus Jackson, walked into the same terminal where his daughters had been humiliated. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and passengers clapped quietly as he stepped to the podium. His daughter stood behind him, nervous but proud. Marcus didn't come with anger. He came with truth. "We grounded flights not to punish," he said, "but to pause, to reflect on what we've become. If this can happen to my daughters, imagine what happens every day to those without power, without a voice." The crowd fell silent. Even the employees who once stood behind the gate looked down, faces heavy with guilt and realization. A nationwide audit was launched. The gate agent and supervisor were dismissed, but Marcus made sure their stories became part of mandatory anti-bias training, not as villains, but as a lesson in awareness. The twins, once victims, became advocates. They started a foundation promoting diversity in aviation, helping young black girls chase careers as pilots, engineers, and flight attendants, dreams once denied by prejudice. But beyond the company, the story struck a nerve across the country. Millions saw themselves in those twins. In every headline, every comment, every tearful reaction, one truth echoed. Racism doesn't need a uniform to exist. It hides behind rules, smiles, and silence. Marcus ended his speech with words that would be replayed around the world. Change doesn't start in the skies. It starts in how we see each other, right here, on the ground. And maybe, for the first time, people listened, because sometimes it takes grounding planes to remind us what equality really means.